Hey everyone. So in this video, we're going to learn about how can you master Copilot in Excel. We're going to go through 20 features which is going to help you transform your productivity in Excel. And these features are segmented into different category like calculation and analysis, data integration and lookups. We're going to look into visualization and presentation, data preparation and transformation, and feedback and analytics. Each section is framed like this. First, I'm going to help you understand what is the feature. We're going to look into why does it matter and what is it trying to solve. And we're going to try some sample prompt. And it's a pure hands-on demo to showcase both the input of the prompt, explanation, and how the output is going to come out. I hope you're going to enjoy the video. Take care. Let us look into the first feature. The first feature is asking Copilot questions. Copilot in Excel allows you to ask questions like creating a formula, or if you want to build or generate new content within your Excel sheet. When you do that, it is allowing you to skip the trial and error of writing complex formulas. It helps you reduce a lot of time and error. You can spend less time on debugging formulas and more time interpreting results for decision making. Let us go and try few sample prompts to understand how you can ask this question to get most out of it. So make sure your Excel is on autosave mode. That means you save it in your OneDrive or SharePoint so that you can use Copilot in Excel. And then make sure you click on this sidecar. This is where pretty much all of that activity for Copilot is being done. The first example what we are going to try is asking questions on how to create formulas, things like that. If you want to ask a generic question, you don't have to have any data within your sheet. You can go to a blank sheet as well. I'm going to ask a question like, how would I write a formula to split column with comma separated values into separate columns? If I don't know how to do that, one way of asking is going to Bing or Google or go to YouTube and figure out how to do it. Or now you can simply ask Copilot using your natural language on how to do that. So let's click on execute. All right, so now based on the question, we got the response. First, Copilot will tell you what function it is going to use. And you have an ability to click on this copy button, apply it in your column, and some explanation as well. If you feel like any of this is not right, or if you like certain things, you can always give thumbs up, thumbs down, or we have a read aloud option which allows you to listen
split function to split
to
a cell
the
with
output response as well. I'm going to ask one more question before we jump to another scenario. This time, instead of asking a formula question on how to create it, I'm asking, hey, what does this particular formula do? Because I saw that in one of the formula columns, but I don't know what does this mean. So you can ask for explanatory questions as well. Based on the question, we got a response. So now here you can understand what this particular formula do. And you get like these bulleted responses on individual components within this formula. So if you're trying to decode or understand a particular complex formula, this is another place where you can come and ask questions. Second feature we are going to look into is the ability to generate new content within your Excel using Copilot. This ability will give you power to instantly generate tables or summaries or creating scenarios without starting from scratch. It can also help you apply professional layouts and styles by reducing any sort of manual formatting time. Let's go ahead and try a few example prompts to understand how can you generate some content within your Excel using Copilot. So let's go and open a blank document. So let's go home and click on blank document. When you do that, you will get this option called Start with Copilot. That's where you can describe what you are trying to create. So I'm going to try a prompt here. I'm going to ask Copilot, hey, can you create a weekly timesheet for 5 employees showing daily and total hours? If this is something I want to create, I don't want to put together the columns and the rows and the headings and things like that. I just want Copilot to create it for me. All right, so it's as simple as me asking a question. Now I have a template ready. So if you look at it, based on the things what we asked to include a timesheet data, it included employee ID, employee name, the whole week information, and towards the end, we have the total hours as well. I haven't asked, but it applied the formula to calculate the time spent things like that. So that's a quick example about how you can ask Copilot to create something for you from scratch. So you can actually ask Copilot to build more content as well. When you click on this Copilot icon, this allows you to do a lot of tasks. One of the tasks is chat with Copilot to ask additional things. Let us look into another example. So here if I zoom in, so here I am specifically asking it to generate 10 sample verbatims from an internal survey of people self-hosting early build of a productivity product. And explicitly I am telling vary the length so that some of them are few words and some are 1 to 2 sentences, because here I am giving different constraint to create different type of output what I need, and some are 4 to 5 sentences. Then I am explicitly saying include spelling errors and typos to make it realistic, and do not include leading or trailing codes. So let's see what Copilot is going to come up with. So last example we had seen where Copilot created all the headings and the sample table as a template so that I can go and fill or populate the timesheet table. So that was quite good. So here I specifically asked to create a list of sample verbatims. I explicitly asked it to create 10. So now based on the prompt I asked, short sentences, some are long sentences, some are 4 to 5 sentences long. So you can see that it's varied types of verbatims. Then I have asked to include spelling errors, which I couldn't spot because first and foremost, I do have a lot of typos whenever I type, so I can't figure out any spelling mistakes. But that is another thing which I mentioned. And at the end, I mentioned about not having any quotes, leading or trailing quotes. It didn't include any quotes. So that's how you can generate new content. It's not just the template with the heading. You can ask it to create or populate stuff as well. So let's do one more example. So I'm not going to save this. Another example here is, here I'm asking Copilot, hey Copilot, can you create a template this time with at least 10 columns for tracking a software project? So similar to our first example, the timesheet, here I'm asking a different sort of a template for tracking my software project. And I've asked it to create 10 columns. All right. So it's creating different examples. All right. So this looks like a pretty good starting point if I am a software manager or a project manager. If I want to create a template to track my project, I could probably ask Copilot to create this as a starting point. And from there, I can actually go ahead and modify this. It applied the conditional formatting. It included the other formatting and things like that, which is quite good. And this gives me a good place to start my work. Let's look at the third example. Here we are going to learn how can you use Copilot in Excel to transform and reshape data. When you use this particular functionality, Copilot in Excel will allow you to break down any sort of messy or combined data into clean, usable columns without any manual formulas. This can help you reduce any sort of human error when preparing data for analysis or reporting. Obviously, this is going to save time by automating a lot of repetitive tasks like splitting, merging, and reformatting data. And this allows you to make your data set easier to filter, pivot, or visualize for decision making. So let's go ahead and try some of these sample prompts to understand how can you transform or reshape data. So I'm going to use this particular Excel sheet. If you look at this particular Excel sheet, I have a list of employee IDs and I have email address. And if you look at the email address, you can clearly see there is first name dot last name and domain name. So what if my manager or someone asked me to extract the first name and the last name into 2 separate columns? I don't want to manually do it, but I don't know the formula to do it as well. How can you ask Copilot to do it for you? So it's pretty simple. When you open this particular Excel file, let me zoom in a little bit and make sure you open this Copilot chat or the ribbon. Click on that. And here where you can ask the question, I'm going to click on new chat or new conversation. Here I'm asking Copilot separate email address into 2 columns because that's what I want for first name and the last name. Pretty simple prompt, but I'm using my natural language itself to ask or look at Copilot to do that work for me rather than me writing a complicated formula or even asking Copilot, hey, I want to separate this email address into two columns. Can you give me a formula? Of course, Copilot can give you, but rather than me asking the formula and applying it myself, I just want Copilot to look at the data and do that work for me. So what you're seeing right now is Copilot is going through the entire data set, and it is looking at the data and figuring out what formula to apply, and then it is going to apply it automatically. So here on the right hand side, if I zoom in, you can see that first it looked through the entire data, it identified what is first name, and it said, okay, I want to use this formula called text before, and to split the last name I have to use the other formula called text before and text after. And if I need explanation, I can click on the see explanation to understand what it is trying to do. More importantly, if I zoom in, you can see that Copilot went ahead and automatically applied and giving me a mock example about how the output is going to look like. This mock output allows you to look into the finding before actually exporting or importing that into your Excel sheet. If you feel like, hey, this is the right one, if I zoom in, there is an option called insert columns. So you don't have to even copy paste, you can click on insert column. So if I hover my mouse over this, you can see that the result is popping in and out. So if I click on that, that is going to automatically add the result into the sheet. Now this is exactly what I asked. So I want Copilot to first of all create formula and to split first name and last name into two separate columns. That is quite good and worked out pretty well. So that's an example about showing how you can use natural language to do specific tasks within Copilot. Let's look into another feature. This time we are going to learn about how can you extract and manipulate text using Copilot in Excel. This particular feature will allow you to streamline your data preparation, which can help you pull out exactly what you need from complex strings without writing nested formulas. And this reduces any sort of manual effort, so you don't need to copy paste or trial and error with text functions. This particular feature can help you ensure consistent extraction across large data sets, where it is easier to isolate key details for reporting or any sort of modeling. So let's go and try a couple of sample prompts to show you how this extraction and manipulation of text look like. So let me quickly zoom in a little bit to show you what's the data we are working with. Here you can see that I have a science class list, and in this column a lot of information in each row, and this information is presented in little bracketed format. Like there is a subject, there is a date when this is happening, and the topic of that class. It pretty much consistently use the same format to go through the entire Excel sheet. What if I want to extract either the text within the first bracket or the second bracket or the third information outside of the bracket into a different column? So I don't want to write it, but I just want Copilot to analyze that data and extract and create a new column. So I'm going to use a prompt here. The prompt is extract the text from the second set of brackets into a separate column. And here if you notice, I haven't even told what to name the column. So Copilot should be intelligent enough to identify what that information is part of the second bracket. It's definitely a day within a week, so it should appropriately name the column and put that information like which day accordingly. So now it is synthesizing the data, understanding what it is, and it is going to pick up the right formula to execute that particular task. So if you look at it, it created that complicated formula. I don't know what this formula does, but I can always come and read the explanation to understand more what if I'm trying to learn what's happening in the backend. And if I scroll my mouse, I can see the mock of how it's going to look like. Obviously, I'm going to click on this insert column. When I do that, it automatically imports the data in. Most importantly, if I zoom in, we asked to extract the information from the second bracket. So you can see that that's pretty consistently applied on all of these rows. And another important thing to notice here is I haven't even asked explicitly to create a column called day of the week. That Copilot automatically understood, because based on the day, it created a column, and most importantly, it used the same format, same color palette, and it picked up the right heading as well. Next feature we're going to learn is called split text. This feature is going to eliminate ambiguity. It can help you convert some dates from a different region to another format so that your reports and reconciliations aren't misread across regions. This allows you to split mixed fields into tidy columns such as date, location, country, making pivots and lookups reliable. So let's go ahead and try a couple of these prompts to look at how you can split text. All right, so let's use this particular data. If you look at this particular column, you have a schedule. All the information are in one single column itself. We have some date, then a state name and a country name. Go to the chat section and I can ask Copilot, put the date and location into separate columns. And the date is currently in US format and I want that in the New Zealand format. So let's see if that is going to work. I want these two in two separate columns, and at the same time I want the date to be converted from US format to New Zealand format, because in the US they follow where month is the beginning of this and then followed by date and then the year. In New Zealand it starts with the day, then the month and the year. All right, so based on that we got a recommendation and it fixed the dates into New Zealand format and it extracted the country or the location information into a separate column. So I can click on insert column. This is going to put that information in the sheet. So if we look at side by side, let's pick an example. Let's pick London. So the date is being changed, or at least the format of the date. Date is the same, but the format is being changed from US to New Zealand. That is the first task. Second, I wanted to extract this information and put it in a separate column. And when Copilot did it, it created a location heading and created that in a different column. So that is good. The next feature we are going to learn is how can you combine data across multiple sheets in Excel using Copilot. This feature is going to help you eliminate any sort of manual lookups, so you don't need to write VLOOKUPs or index matches formulas. Copilot can do it for you. Second, this can reduce errors from mismatched ranges or incorrect references, and quickly enrich your main data set with related details like prices, codes, or descriptions. This particular feature can handle large table without slowing down or breaking formulas. And this helps you maintain relationship between sheets for better analysis and dashboards. So let's go ahead and try this using a sample prompt and look at how you can actually achieve this. So we're going to work with these two data sets. I have two different sheets, one for inventory. I have some product details and number of items I have in stock for each product. In the price list, I have the type of the product and the item price. So both are in two different sheets. And if you look at the order of the product is placed in slightly different way in both of these sheets as well. So if I go to one of these sheets, I could do it in inventory, or I could do this same task in price list as well. I'm going to go to Copilot. I'm going to ask Copilot, can you add a column from the price list sheet to show the product price? So this time what I want here in the inventory is a new column called price list, and the information should be pulled from the price list sheet, and it should automatically correspond the right price for the right product in this particular column. So let's see if this is going to work. Let's execute this. Typically I would have to do VLOOKUP or index match to do this particular set of work. Now what Copilot will do that right now is look at the information from the inventory tab, look at the information from the price list sheet and try to compare these things and put corresponding information put together. It created the formula. You can go through the formula explanation to understand how it did the XLOOKUP function. What I'm going to do is I'm going to simply click on insert column. All right, so we added the product price. I'm going to slightly change the color to verify if it picked the right product price. So let's go and verify it. Let's pick roof bracket. I'm going to highlight roof bracket. The price mentioned here is $20. Let's go to the price list. The roof bracket price is $20. Even though it was not on the fourth row, it picked up the right price. So that's how you can do XLOOKUP from two different data sets in residing in two different sheets. All right, the next feature is pivot tables. How can you use Copilot to create pivot tables for you? This feature will help you to turn raw data into clear summaries without manually grouping or filtering. So you don't need to remember the pivot table steps. You just describe what you need and Copilot will do that for you. Let's go ahead and try some pivot table examples. We are going to work on this particular data set for the next 2 or 3 examples. Here we have a session type, number of attendees attended each session. The name is being split into 2 columns as first name and last name, and we have some joining date and time. So if I want to understand the number of attendees attended per session, I can ask Copilot, can you create a pivot table showcasing attendees by session type? Let's go and execute this. Copilot is scanning through the entire data set. All right, so if you look at the data output, you can see that this is exactly what I asked. I just want Copilot to find out how many number of attendees attended each session, and now it created that as a pivot table. If I want to see and use the pivot table, all I have to do is click on add to a new sheet, and now I have the pivot table ready. If you click on the pivot table, you can add or manipulate the data based on the other filters you have in this pivot table. So that's how you can quickly ask question to Copilot to either summarize or view the data in a pivot table. In this example, we are going to learn how to use calculated column to transform the data within the Excel sheet. This feature eliminates the need to manually write or debug formulas. And this feature can convert inconsistent or text-based values into proper formats for analysis. So let's go and try an example where you are going to use this particular functionality to extract the text and create something meaningful. I'm on the same data sheet. This time we are going to use this particular column. If you look at this column, we have the join time. Join time have some dates and time, but if you notice, these are not formatted data or time. These are text values. What if I want to convert this into a proper format to recognize that as a date and time? Now in this column, we used the text format to address the date and the time, and it is separated by a comma. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Copilot, add a calculated column formula that converts the join time to date and time value. Let's go and execute this. We are potentially looking at extracting the information from this column and creating an additional column with a proper format for date and time. Copilot is analyzing the data. It is applying the formula. Now we have the information available. I'm going to click on insert column. All right, so now we have the new join date and time. I'm going to color this differently. If you side by side compare, both look almost similar, but one is a text format, another one is a proper date and time format. Let's compare a couple of values here. So if you look at this particular value, 21st August, it's converted that into a proper date format. And more meaningful information, the 1309, the time is converted into 19 p.m. And wherever you click on this field, if you look at and zoom in the formula value, you can see that it's already converted based on what we asked it to do. The other one, if I click on the field, you can see that that's a text value. In this feature, we are going to learn about how can you combine 2 columns into a single field. This helps you merge related fields like names into one for cleaner reports. And this ensures consistent formatting across the large data sets. Let's go and try a couple of prompts to look at this example. I'm going to delete the newly created date and time. All right, so in this particular data sheet, if you look, we have these 2 columns. The first one is host name first name and host name surname. What we are going to do is we are going to combine these 2 and we are going to create an additional column to merge the first name and last name. So first I'm going to ask Copilot, create a new column combining first name and last name. Execute the command. First, Copilot will scan through the entire data set, understand if there are any columns called host first name and host surname, And if it finds that looks like it did, creates the formula and combine it. So all I have to do is click on insert column. When you do that, let's compare one field. I'm going to pick this. Here you can see that the first name and last name is matched properly. Kai McDonald, Kai McDonald. So that's how you can use Copilot to combine two fields into a single column. In this example, we are going to look into a feature which can convert or standardize date format with calculated columns. This particular feature will allow you to convert US date format to New Zealand standard format, or it doesn't matter any particular format, whatever format you want it to convert. This eliminates misinterpretation of date across regions, especially for compliance and audit needs, and it can handle century assumptions and format conversions without any manual formulas. Let's go and try this in a data sheet and understand how it works. We're going to use this data set. We have a session type, and here we have a date, but this date is based on US format. How do you recognize that? So if I pick this date, US date starts with month, then date, and then year. So I want it to convert into date, month, and year. So the prompt I'm going to use is add a calculated column that converts the date column from US format to New Zealand format. Then I clearly mention this. You don't have to mention it, but it's good to mention it in the 21st century. So it understands which century is it from. Execute it. Copilot is understanding the data and it is generating the formula. And now it applied the formula and we can click on insert column. And if I highlight this, we can pick an example. Okay, let's pick this example, design workshop. Here the date is being changed from US time zone to New Zealand time zone. All right, in this feature, we're going to look into how can you enrich location data with derived columns. This feature will allow you to pull country from mixed location strings, so rollups, segmentation, and mapping work reliably. And you can apply a clear exception when the last token is two capital letters. In this example, we are going to see that two capital letters refers to a state in US, then we are going to code that into USA. And this helps you uniform country values, improve lookups to territory tables and Power BI relationships. Let's go ahead and try this and understand what this means. I think the example number 4 or 5, we use this split text to extract the date and the location. But when we extracted the date and location, we just extracted the location. Let me quickly show you what does it I mean. In the 5th feature, what we had used is put the date and location to separate columns. So let me execute that so that you can understand and compare what we are trying to do here. So what this is going to do is it is going to extract the date into a column and location into another column. That is good. So that is what this is going to do. We had actually seen that in example 5. That is called split text feature. All right, if I click on insert column, you can see that there are 2 additional columns created, a date and location. So I'm going to delete this. That is not what we are going to do now. I'm going to add additional prompt this time. So the new prompt is add a new column that pull the country out of the location, because last time it just took the entire location into a new column. So I want this time to split the location and the country, and there is more complication within the prompt. And most of the time the country is the value after the last comma. So if you look at this example, after Cape Town there is a comma and then it says that the country is South Africa. So that is what I'm telling. But if the value after the last comma is 2 capital letters, then set the country to USA. So if you look at this example, Los Angeles, and if it's comma and then there is CA, it's not a country name, it's the location or the state name. So if that is the case, I want Copilot to automatically categorize that as USA. So it's a complicated prompt. Let's see if this is going to work. Let's execute this. So in the last example, we had seen how to split text. That was quite straightforward and easy. This example, we are learning how to enrich location data with derived columns. All right, Copilot is analyzing the information. It created that complicated formula to determine the country. And now if I click on insert columns, this time the information is slightly different. Now we have location, and when we have a new column, first we asked to look at the comma, and after the comma extract that as the country, Japan, that is right. For USA, we said if it is two text, after comma if there is two letters, then code that as USA. So that is exactly what it is done. Next feature is lookup. This feature in Excel along with Copilot will eliminate the need to manually write VLOOKUP or index match for any sort of exchange rate. You can apply the correct rate for any transaction without any sort of human error, and you can convert large data set to a common currency in seconds. Now let's go and learn how you can actually use this lookup functionality using Copilot. So I'm going to use this particular sheet. Here you can see that I have two set of data. The first set of data is this, where I have date, country, some currency code. The currency code have different types of currency code. I have Mexican, I have USD, I have Brazilian currency, and then there are number of tickets sold, revenue, and revenue per ticket. So that's one set of information. Second set of information, in the same sheet I have currency code for different countries and the exchange rate. So what I'm going to ask Copilot is to cross-reference this data set with the exchange rate data set and create another column, which is a revenue column, but the revenue should be converted with the exchange rate of USD. So that is what we are trying to do. Slightly complex. I'm going to click on Copilot new chat. Let's ask Copilot to do that lookup. Let's zoom into the prompt what we are going to use. Add a column that calculates revenue by USD by multiplying the revenue column by the exchange rate to USD column. Let's execute this. So ideally we should have another column here with the revenue multiplied with the exchange rate from this particular column. Alright, so now if you look at the data, the new revenue in USD, if I click on insert column, this time the revenue is slightly different to the revenue here. This is matched with multiplying the value with the USD information exchange rate here. So that's how you can create a VLOOKUP to perform currency conversion. The next feature is learning how to use Copilot to create chart to visualize the data. This feature helps you turn raw numbers into visuals that are easier to interpret and present. So you don't need to manually build chart or tweak settings. Copilot does it for you in seconds. So let's go and try a couple of prompt. We're going to use this particular data set. Here I have some date of transaction, some sales information from which country, which state, and some postal code, things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Copilot to create a simple chart. The prompt I'm using here is create a column chart showing sales by country, because I don't want to create the chart. So there is some sales information, there is some country information. I just want to correlate both of them. But I just want to see it in a chart format, not a pivot table. So let's see what Copilot is going to come up with. Ideally, this will allow you to visualize the data in a new sheet. This chart doesn't insert in this particular sheet itself. So you can use this sheet for other references and data insight, but the new sheet can be used for visualizing that in a chart format. Copilot is analyzing the data and it is creating the chart for you. So this is how potentially the chart is going to look like. Once it completes the activity, we can click on this add to a new sheet. When you do that, it converts and put that information in a new sheet. This is exactly what I asked. So now because we have the pivot table, I can actually come in and add other values as well to make the chart a little sophisticated or create something which I am looking for. The next feature we are going to learn is applying conditional formatting and highlighting with rules. This feature will help you highlight duplicates instantly so errors or overlaps don't go unnoticed. So you don't need to scan rows or write complex conditional formulas. You can basically ask Copilot to clean and provide you accurate data sheet for reporting and analysis. So let's go and try a couple of examples. We're going to use this particular data sheet. You can see that there is quite a lot of data to scan through. We have campaign type, campaign owner, when it is going to be launched, the year, quarter, engaged number of users, things like that. So I'm going to launch Copilot here. The question I'm going to ask is highlight duplicate values in the launch date column in red. So in the launch date, there are some duplicate values. We don't want to manually scan through it. I just want Copilot to figure out and mark that in red so that I can spot it immediately. All right, Copilot is scanning through the entire data to make sense. And it found out some duplicate values and it is asking, hey, do you want to apply this label? So if I click on apply, it is going to immediately add that highlights. So for the launch date, you can clearly see that 7/14 was the duplicate. That is exactly what I asked Copilot to find out. Once it found out, I asked it to highlight it. So it highlighted that field. The next feature we're going to learn is deriving insight with date functions. This helps you add context to dates. Knowing the date of the week helps identify patterns like weekend launches or weekday trends. So you don't need to remember or write complex date formulas. Copilot does it for you instantly. And this helps you make it easier to analyze performance by weekdays for scheduling or forecasting. So let's try a couple of prompts here. So we have this data set. So if you look at the data set, I have the campaign owner, description, and when the campaign is going to launch, and the calendar year. But with this, it's pretty difficult for me to find out if this is a weekday or a weekend. So I just want to derive the date into a weekday or a weekend so that I can understand it. That is going to affect my launch plan and things like that. So I'm going to ask Copilot, add a new column that shows the day of the week for each launch date. Let's execute it. Copilot is analyzing through the data. We should have a formula by now. It's going to create an appropriate formula and it is going to give us this option to insert column. Now this insert column, let me do that. That clearly mapped the date into what day it is in the week. And here, if you notice in the calendar year, we have different years, not a consistent pattern here, but based on that, Copilot matched the appropriate day and it matched or created the right day of the week. In this feature, we're going to learn how can you use Copilot to clean and standardize the data in Excel. This is going to help you automate a lot of tedious tasks of converting text or cleaning up across large data sets. You can apply the same formatting rules for every row without any error. And this makes content presentation ready for stakeholders or dashboards. Let's go and try this example. We're going to use this particular data sheet. We're going to use Copilot to actually prompt and clean the data in this particular sheet. At the same time, I want to show you there is another cleanup function. When you go to data, if you have Copilot license, there is a new option we have added called clean data. So see if you can try that. That will also do a little bit of cleaning. But here I have a specific task or ask. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Copilot, create a formula column that removes the trailing footnotes like 14 and 15. Let me show you what I mean. So if I zoom in here, the rationale have a lot of these codes and information like 14, 15. I don't want these information. It doesn't look right. I just want to clean all of that, but I don't want to manually do it. So that is exactly what I'm telling Copilot. And strip single or double quotes from the rational column. So if you look at the rational column along with these numbers, we have these quotes as well, single or double quotes. I just want to remove all of that. So that's a type of cleaning and standardizing the data. Copilot is scanning through the data set. It created the formula. Now if I click on insert column, it should have a new column and the column is called cleaned rationale 2. But if you look at it, that numbers have been deleted. It took out all the codes and it's cleaner now. So if I compare with the other one, it's slightly cleaner. So you can either replace or modify it. And if you feel like this is not clean enough, you can use another prompt to remove further cleaning of the data and standardize the data set. The next feature is how can you use Copilot for open-ended feedback into actionable themes. So Copilot can now understand text and synthesize that. So this allows you to group verbatims commands into clear themes so you can see what matters most at a glance. You can use it to surface top opportunities for improvements with evidence to focus limited time and budget. And this delivers concise summaries with counts, sentiment, and example codes for quick decisions. Let's go ahead and try some of these example. We're going to use this sample data here. This has a lot of verbatim for our onboarding survey based on department, when you got it, the survey ID, and things like that. I'm going to summarize the verbatims to show the top three opportunities for improvement. I just want Copilot to understand all of these text in the verbatim and give me what are the three things I can do to improve this. So this is basically sentiment analysis on a large scale. Copilot will scan through the entire list, map based on the department, and go through each and every verbatim, and it is going to summarize and analyze this. Based on this, it identified the top three opportunities are based on the verbatim: onboarding process structure, clarity and accessibility of information, relevance, and effectiveness of training. So I didn't go through these verbatim, but this is a pretty fast response considering amount of data we have in this sheet. So if I want, I can cross reference and match this. So I can pretty much use this itself as a finding and copy and send it as an email to someone who is asking for the review, or I can cross reference it by clicking on insert in a column that actually map this into themes. So if I expand this, now we have a theme associated or aligned. These top three themes are aligned to all the verbatim. Some of these are ignored because those doesn't fall under these top three because we asked for top three analysis. So now I can filter these based on, I can click on filter. If I'm working on a particular one where anybody need clarity and accessibility information, I can click on that and work on these verbatims and do further analysis, which department have most of these issues reported, things like that. Next feature we're going to look into is segmenting feedback. This allows us to link themes to specific products. So teams focus on improvements where they will move the needle most. And this can help you surface the top opportunities per product or with additional evidence like counts or percentages, etc. And this can help you automate manual coding of verbatims into themes across large data sets. Let's go and try this example. So we're going to use this particular data set. We have a product column and we have a feedback column. And what I'm going to ask is, based on the information on the feedback, what are the top opportunities for improvement based on the feedback for each product? Copilot is going to scan through the entire feedback list. It is going to understand the meaning and sentiment behind each feedback, correlate that with the product, and it is going to give us the recommendation and suggestion. And these suggestions will include themes, top opportunities, and some evidence. All right. Based on this, it identified charging performance, product durability and build quality, installation and usability, and customer service and support are some of the feedback. And I can click on insert column. When you do that, these feedback are going to be mapped against each of these feedback. And now I can, in the previous example, I can correlate, make more meaning out of these example. The next feature we are going to learn is multi-file analysis. We are not going to do in Excel because Excel only support up to one file correlation at the moment. We cannot reference multiple Excel file. Another place where you can actually do that is Copilot Chat or Analyst Agent. So keep an eye on another video which I'm going to do on Analyst Agent where you can do deeper analysis on an Excel sheet. That's a totally separate video. Here we're going to use OneDrive to do this multi-file analysis. So this ability showcases how to compare two files using Copilot in OneDrive for browser-based workflows. So let's go and try this. So go to your OneDrive. Under files, make sure you have multiple or a couple of Excel files to compare. One way of doing that is I'm just going to pick random two Excel sheets. Here if I zoom in, you can see these two are Excel sheets. It doesn't have any relevance, but I just want to show you how you can compare it. When you do that, click on this Copilot icon. Either you can say to summarize it or ask question on what's there in the Excel file. But since we are learning about comparison, click on this compare files. When you do that, what's going to do is it's going to scan through both of these files, understand what's inside it, when did it created, who is the author, and all sort of super high level comparison which sometimes you need, like when is it recently edited, what are the sheets you have in different of these files, what's the summary of information there, some of the example about what's included, some of the formulas it's used within the sheet and things like that on a super high level. Additional to that, you can click on this ask question that gives you this sidecar option where you can ask additional question as well. List unique features in each file. Then what it is going to do right now, it is going to give me a list of key features or key bullet points which I should be knowing about from each file. The first file had 16 sheets and the second one only have one sheet, things like that. Very unique features. So you can ask these questions iteratively. This is how you can compare Excel sheet in OneDrive right now. In this feature, we're going to learn about how to use advanced analysis with Python in Excel. This enables statistical modeling, machine learning, and custom calculations beyond native Excel functions. This lets analysts use Python libraries without leaving Excel. And this can handle large data sets and repetitive tasks with concise Python scripts. So let's go and learn how to do that. This can work on large set of data. So we are going to use this particular set of data. It's not even large, but I just want to show you the possibility. So when you have a large set of data, please go ahead and try it. On the Copilot icon itself, you will sometimes get advanced analytics. If you don't have, you can click on analyze data, or you can just come in here and type in, I'm going to ask start advanced analysis, execute. Before you execute advanced analysis, the first option you're going to get is this. I'm going to use advanced analysis for this. This is going to create a new sheet for results, automatically write and insert Python formulas, and answer your prompt in multiple messages. Do you want to start? You have two options, either to start or start think deeper to use the reasoning model. I'm going to click on this start button. So click on start. So that is going to create a new data sheet that allows you to ask additional question for deeper analysis. So now you can see that it's automatically created a Python code. So if I expand this and if I zoom in, the information what you're seeing here is coming out of a Python code generated by this advanced analysis. So you can clearly see the data, the new result can be added in a new sheet, or I can go back to the analysis tab and I can ask additional questions. I'm going to ask, create a heat map to visualize the distribution of reviews by segment and region. And these are deep data scientist type of question or data modeling. So you can see that pretty instantly came back with the finding. But more importantly, if I open or expand this Python code it generated, you can see that it's quite elaborate code which it has to create to actually use this heat map to showcase to us. So I can keep on asking deeper, meaningful question. Each time I ask a question, it is going to change the Python code a little bit. So here I'm going to ask stacked bar chart for reviews by region and segment. When I execute it, first it is going to modify the Python code and it is going to give me a new set of data based on the question I asked. I asked it to stack bar chart based on the review and the sentiment by region. So I can keep on and ask question to get better data out of what I'm trying to find it. So this is advanced analysis. I hope the information provided in this video was helpful. I will see you on the next one. Take care.